These demons thrive on suffering, and human weapons are nothing but a joke to them. Not even an arrow straight through the eye can stop them. At this moment, it feels like nothing can keep them from bringing down the castle and slaying every scared defender within. But then, out of nowhere, a mage arrives bearing 4 ancient mana stones in his hand. He goes onto the castle wall, calmly enters the stones into his spellbook, and casts a single spell. A gigantic magic circle suddenly appears beneath the entire demon army, freezing them in place. Before they can even react, the mage channels the power of all 4 stones and calls down a deadly bolt of lightning, so powerful that the entire army is instantaneously burned on the spot. Not a single demon survives. The defenders are left stunned and forever grateful to this mysterious mage, but he doesn't stay to collect the praise. Without a word, he turns and continues on his journey, because this was never his goal. He's seeking for something far bigger, the most powerful primitive mana stone in existence. So who is this mage, and why is he so preoccupied with these mana stones? In a noble mansion, Lord Malik keeps slaves chained away in his basement. These unhappy people are viewed as trash, and because of that, he forces them to polish stones in hopes of uncovering ones that possess ancient magic. Among these so-called worthless slaves, there is a lad named Alan, who has already completed his polishing quota for the day. Yet the magic stone nerd still wants to keep polishing even more. The overseer arrives and begins punishing the other slaves for not polishing their stones properly. He orders them to polish their stones just like Alan's. As the supervisor tries to grab the boy's stone, Alan resists and explains that he wants to make it shine even brighter. His defiance wins him a devastating kick that throws him to the ground. The supervisor admits that he cannot tolerate the look in the boy's eyes, while another ginger steps in and starts pounding him without holding back. He pulls the youngster by the hair, lifts his head, and tells him that he can polish 1 stone for every hit he takes. The bullies continue pounding the poor youngster until they are pleased, but just as they are ready to depart, Alan acts like a complete masochist and requests for more punches so he can polish even more stones for the day. The little masochist keeps pushing the supervisors to keep pounding him until they finally get fed up and lock him back inside his cell. All of this is being watched silently by an old geezer who sits nearby, focusing on polishing his own stone while observing everything. The next morning, Alan wakes up, and the soreness from the pounding makes him think that he might have gone a bit too far and should have recognized his limitations. He remembers a bluish stone he once polished, and how passionately he fell in love with it. Alan wants to see more stones like that, and now all he wants is to keep polishing stones every single day, even if they finally get taken away from him. As he keeps drifting in his thoughts, the supervisor approaches and tells him that it is time to get back to work. The elderly geezer from yesterday stretches out his hand to help the child stand up and checks if he is all right. At the polishing table, the old man prefers to sit beside him, which upsets Alan. Ever since he arrived in this heaven, no one has ever tried to communicate to him like this. As usual, the supervisors wander around, selecting the slaves who are not polishing properly or even those who are polishing too well, and they take joy in harassing them either way. Meanwhile, Alan keeps focused on polishing a magnificent purple stone that he has never seen before. He feels excited to see its genuine beauty after he finishes polishing it. He concentrates on it with complete focus, while the old geezer kept pestering him, wondering why he was acting like a masochist who enjoys getting beaten. Alan says that he simply wants to polish more and more stones. Back in the alleyways where he used to live as a penniless orphan, he had nothing to do, and surviving each day felt like a fight. Over time, he had already given up on his life and ended up becoming like a walking corpse. But now that he is here, he feels okay being treated cruelly as long as he keeps obtaining stones to polish. The old geezer finds it hard to comprehend that someone could be so frantic only to polish a few stones that he is even willing to give up his sleep for it. Alan tells the old man to stay out of it and let him focus on his work. He then goes going on about how lovely these stones are. The old geezer, however, looks at one in his own hand and asks what is so remarkable about these ordinary pebbles. His eyes immediately widen when he hears the youngster explain about the floating patterns he claims to see inside them. The old geezer instantly leans in and asks if he can actually see those patterns, and Alan nonchalantly replies that anyone should be able to see them, including the old guy himself. This answer makes the geezer smile, and he starts to educate the slave lad more about these stones. He explains that the floating patterns the youngster can see are actually traces of old magic and begins lecturing him about monstones. He goes on to explain that if these stones are coupled with a magic book, the power contained inside them can be used. The old man then adds that the stones they polish here are generally low-quality trash. Hearing this, Alan starts wondering that there might be even more exquisite stones outside this place. The geezer continues sharing his knowledge, stating that these stones may house numerous elements like water, fire, and more. This finally takes the boy's complete interest, and he asks the elderly man to tell him more and also where he may find such stones. Just as the geezer explains that he would first need to get out of this spot, a magical attack suddenly flies in and smacks the unfortunate old man to the ground. The attack comes from the ruler of the house, Malik, who arrives to check on the situation and see how things are going. He scares the old man and urges him not to get any illusions about escape from this prison. Malik lets out a sigh and says that he did not expect the old geezer to still have enough strength left to even think about going. The old man becomes noticeably agitated the instant he hears Malik's voice. Seeing that reaction, Alan asks if he knows this man. The old geezer says that the noble is actually a traitor who has been using ancient magic for the wrong motives. It is then revealed that both he and the house lord have been fellow grimoire smiths for the previous 30 years. The old guy says that Malik Lambarik used to be a very close friend, someone he trusted profoundly. Because of that trust, he reduced his guard around him, and in exchange, the corrupt grimoire smith went as far as holding a female at knife point simply to steal his magic book. The old geezer is then revealed to be Lord Klaus, and he goes on to tell that his former comrade has been illegally selling mana stones merely to fill his own pockets. Klaus states that as the leader of the grimoire smiths, he will never forgive such betrayal. Malik, however, mocks his former comrade and brands him a hypocrite, stating that he only ended up like this because he let his worthless grandchild be taken captive. He continues to belittle him, saying that without his grimoire, he is nothing, even though he formerly possessed the capacity to utilize more than 10 forms of ancient magic. The elderly maestro of magic grinds his teeth as he cannot stomach seeing his treasured grimoire in the hands of someone so wicked. Malik then discloses that he had planned to utilize the book himself, believing that he would be able to control its power, but no matter how much effort he put in, he was never able to harness the power trapped inside it. The malevolent ruler of the mansion labels both the grimoire and the diamond nothing but rubbish and throws them aside without caring. As the stones strike the floor, they quickly capture the boy's attention. Alan feels a peculiar pull, as if the stones are somehow calling out to him. The wicked lord then explains that he now suspects that the maestro's strength might be tied to his eyes. He angrily demands that Klaus divulge how he is able to perceive the power within the mana stones. The old guy tries to resist and make a final stand, but he is immediately overcome again and gets his hands bound. He looks up at the evil ruler with unmistakable disdain and informs him that his hungry and tainted eyes will never be able to see what he seeks. This statement enrages Malik, and he takes Klaus by the hair while calling him a weak and useless piece of crap. He goes on to disclose his plan of tearing him apart and using him as a test subject until he eventually gains the power he craves. The terrible lord does not end there. He picks up a blazing candle and throws it against the grimoire, aiming to burn it to ashes right in front of its owner. Klaus cries in despair as Malik says that he would make sure the old man never even thinks of departing this place again. As Klaus keeps striving to break free, the small boy suddenly jumps straight into the flames, his eyes locked on a mana stone that the insane lord believes is calling out to him. Everyone present thinks the youngster has completely lost his mind for jumping into fire like that, but Alan is far too motivated to even consider about the danger in front of him. Alan swiftly approaches to get the stones, while the old geezer cries at him to take up the book instead. Even when Malik tries to stop him, he does not slow down and succeeds to seize the grimoire. However, something absolutely unexpected happens, as instead of getting scorched by the flames, Alan somehow learns to control them. The burning energy pouring out of the magic book resonates with him on a soul-deep level. He feels entirely fascinated by the sparkling magic stone, which looks like it is the only thing that even exists in the world right now. Malik is gobsmacked, hard to believe that a filthy peasant could ever hold the power of a grimoire. In that instant, he shouts at the supervisor to get it away from the child quickly. The geezer is actually scared that an ordinary kid would outperform him by using the very grimoire he himself failed to awaken. Without wasting a second, he whips out his own grimoire and begins using water magic to return the slave back where he rightfully belongs. The water he called rapidly materializes to scare our youngster. The poor child can only stand there and watch as Malik orders the condensed water to crash down on him with fury. However, the blazing flames wrapped around him rapidly evaporate the water, saving the kid. The traitor can only stare in horrified awe, absolutely baffled about how something like this is possibly conceivable. The slave kid who awakened barely minutes ago somehow has perfect power over the blazing flames. His threat level jumps up in Malik's eyes. No matter how much ice magic he spams, our boy goes full firebender on that moron, nullifying every strike. Watching from behind, elderly man Klaus has zero reservations the moment he catches the look burning in Alan's eyes. Just moments ago, the same boy claiming he could see the flow of power is now effortlessly commanding his old grimoire. That quickly places him on an extraordinary level of intellect never witnessed before in this dusty dump. But even geniuses need reps, and this one has zero training or real fighting knowledge. So in principle, it should not take long before Malik folds the puny newbie with no battle experience. Worried ill, the maestro yells at him to hurl the grimoire over immediately. Alan rapidly understands it is the only genuine way he can escape this complex scenario alive. Wrapping himself in a tight circle of roaring flames, he makes a desperate dash for it. Knowing exactly what the youngster is trying to pull, Malik refuses to gamble. He makes his largest water attack yet and yeets it at the youngster. Alan manages to give off the book just before he gets blasted away by the impending attack. At the same time, he chucks the magic stones toward Klaus as well. The maestro snags them in milliseconds as he is picking a fly out of the air with chopsticks. Now restored to his peak form, Klaus calmly reminds the traitor that his small tyranny has officially overstayed its welcome. Surprisingly, the traitor does not look that shaken just yet. He certainly had a backup plan ready for a scenario exactly like this. The supervisor soon brings several other kids forward as told, but these ones seem shockingly different, with severe scars over their bodies and magic stones lodged directly into their chests. Klaus falls stunned when he fully knows what the traitor caused to them. Showing absolutely no remorse, the traitor coldly explains that they were all pieces in his huge master plan to overthrow Klaus. Then, without blinking, he rips the cursed magic stone clean out of one kid's chest, who collapses onto the floor with a heavy, agonizing thud. Even the cold-hearted supervisor nearly wets himself at the horrible sight. Klaus gets outraged, blasting at the traitor for performing banned human experiments, something no sane mage would dare do. Rolling the cursed magic stone between his fingers like marbles, the scoundrel insists this was always the natural consequence. He desired authority, and these youngsters, who would have died starving in the streets anyway, might as well serve a purpose. That botched-up line does not sit right with Alan, who freaks out. He snaps even more when the traitor adds that becoming part of his experiments is an honor far too big for humble plebs like them. Right after that bold remark, the two mages go all out within the confined space. But this time, the maestro is the one getting forced backward. Malik flashes a big grin, finally watching the day he outclasses the strongest mage in the kingdom. He tells the old man to just drop dead already, so he can use their bodies for further entertaining experiments. Alan senses the tide shifting in the worst manner possible. He glances down at the crimson stone in his fingers and strives to conjure the flames again. He forced himself to recall how he controlled the fire before, promising he will escape out of this filthy mansion no matter what. His yearning to see all the magic stones in the outside world takes over, and thick, dark flames begin to materialize around him. Both mages tilt their heads in horror toward the youngster, who makes it painfully plain that he is ready to burn them and the entire factory straight to the ground. The traitor is shocked to the core. He had never witnessed a kid draw out a magic stone's power without even touching a grimoire. Klaus immediately knows this is the outcome of unleashing a magic stone's raw power, sending the user into a berserk state. Malik is more annoyed with every surprise our child starts throwing at his face. He wants to put out the amateur's rookie flames as they are candles at a tragic celebration. After failing in a very embarrassing fashion, he glares at his subordinates and orders them to handle the obnoxious brat instead. Our youngster recognizes he needs to thin out his assailants before they box him in. The longer this carries on, the larger the chance the other youngsters become caught in the crossfire. He cries out to the maestro, requesting him to help take out the oncoming rubbish hurtling their way. All three mages unleash spells at once, and Malik's men end up collecting damage from the messy collateral. With that opening, Klaus moves fast and escorts the youngsters to safety. That leaves Alan and Malik behind to settle things in a clean 1-versus-1. The traitor throws everything he has left, refusing to lose to a puny kid. But his cursed magic stones burn up, and he finally feels the full might of our boy's fire magic head-on. Feeling true anguish for the first time ever, Malik completely loses his composure. The traitor spits curses and pulls out a new spell that confines Alan inside a solid obsidian sphere. That still is not enough to accomplish the job, as Alan shatters it from within and locks Malik in a violent chokehold, burning away the arrogance and ego of the crazed wizard. Watching in startled silence, Klaus never expected the newly awakened brilliance to overpower someone on Malik's level. Our youngster leans toward him with a little grin and asks if they can finally administer justice to the mad thug. The mage commander accepts and pulls Malik's body into the air with controlled power. Just then, Alan starts feeling disoriented as the negative effects of overusing his strength begin setting in. The two of them make their way up to the surface, where Alan sees sunshine for the first time in years. He rushes forward, praising the sheer fact that they finally have freedom and basic human rights. He eagerly yells that they need to visit the spot with the magic stones Klaus mentioned earlier. Obviously, that catches the guards' notice, who are already hunting for the moron who set the mansion on fire. A few hours later, he finds himself standing in the king's court, brought under formal trial. The judge sets forth his so-called crimes against Mage Lord Malik Lambarik in a loud voice. However, since the accused is simply a slave, no one bothers asking the jury if he should be deemed guilty. This whole drama is basically a public show to warn everyone that a slave who goes out of line faces the death punishment without debate. The jury, full with pompous nobles, begins tossing insults his way and displays zero resistance to the cruel judgment. Our youngster opens his mouth to defend himself, but before a single word passes his lips, a booming voice enters the chamber. The leader of all magicians, Lord Klaus, stuns everyone with his abrupt disagreement and dramatic entrance. The nobility cannot wrap their heads around why someone of his standing would step in to shield a random youngster. His dazzling aura fills the hall as he calmly explains that judging a slave without hearing his side is short-sighted. The person he addresses this statement toward is not the judge, but the king seated above him. The monarch contends that listening to a slave's defense is worthless. He wonders back why the leader of mages would personally show up for this nobody. Without a pause, Lord Klaus declares that the kid is his apprentice, throwing the entire court into frenzy. Never in history have they watched a slave awaken as a grimoire smith of all things. Right there before the startled throng, Lord Klaus hands a magic book together with a rare magic stone to Alan. In that time, our guy recognizes there is only one real way to turn the room in his favor. He cannot ask them to consider him as anything beyond a dirty prisoner, so instead, he vows to reveal their misdeeds instead. An NPC steps up and unshackles our youngster, while the king declares that they cannot afford to lose out on any grimoire users. However, he immediately adds that never in history has a slave ever become one of them. The other lords also agree with that opinion and raise a tremendous fuss as they declare that a garbage slave can never become an esteemed grimoire craftsman. Determined to prove them incorrect, our boy touches the mana stone and unleashes water magic. Everyone gets stunned by the scene, and even the monarch falls silent. Meanwhile, our youngster wanders into thought as he looks at the beauty of water. One noble dares to stand up and states that this is all some cheap hoax. Before he can continue, Alan shuts him up with his water magic. The waves stop just in front of that noble, who now stands paralyzed and too afraid to even move. Our hero calls them out and says that they are shallow people who look down on the impoverished, and asks if they think they are above the law and free to commit murder. Sensing his ominous atmosphere, the noble finally finds his voice and exclaims that no one is above the law. With a smile, Alan proclaims that there is someone who deserves punishment then. Willing his power to fade, our youngster says that a piece of trash tried to kill both him and the elderly man. Malik even exploited children for his perverted human experiments, which is why he should be the one to face judgment. The monarch calls out to the old guy, who affirms that everything is true. He also adds that if it was not for this scrawny young man, he would not be alive. Alan even offers them to investigate that trashbag's mansion, since all the proof is stored in the basement. He then turns solemn as he recalls those children in chains. Pushing the thought away, he says that even after all this, if the kingdom still plans to execute him for being a slave, then he will do whatever it takes to survive. No noble dares to speak in face of such a scary display of power. The old man then walks up and calmly asks if the monarch actually wants a prodigy like him to depart the realm. Seeing no way out, the monarch says that it would be folly to do so and quickly terminates the trial. He orders his guards to search the mansion at once. After everyone clears out, the king calls out to Klaus and warns him never to let the boy out of his sight. With that, the hearing comes to a conclusion and the two go outdoors. Alan thanks the old man for what he accomplished, and notes that he looks completely different today. He then teases him and wonders if Klaus is some powerful mage. The old man urges Alan to call him master from now on and explains that he is a grimoire smith. However, our youngster does not care about any of that and instead asks about the mana stones and how he may get them. Klaus advises him to calm down and reminds him that Alan is his trainee for now. He tells our child that he will first study all the tedious basics and details of grimoire smithing, which nearly kills his spirit. Getting serious, Klaus says that the entire continent is under constant threat owing to demon attacks, which means only a fool would travel without preparation. The old man believes there is zero chance the youngster will survive the moment he steps outside. That makes Alan frustrated as he declares that he has to find those stones no matter what. He reminds Klaus that he was the one who told him about this planet in the first place. The old man sighs and lightly rubs his head as he explains that this is exactly why the youngster must become a proper grimoire craftsman. If he actually wants to look for the mana stones, then he needs to grasp the basics such as how they work and how to classify them. He tells Alan to study at the magic tower, where he will earn knowledge, status, and influence. Only after preparing himself properly will our hero be able to find what he seeks. Klaus tells him to exploit every resource the magic tower affords so he never has to live as a slave again. That finally reaches our hero as he learns that he will be able to live freely without listening to anyone. Making up his decision, he agrees to travel to the magic tower, but warns that if it turns out to be a waste of time, he will depart without a second thought. Hearing that, the old man smiles and invites him to the magic tower as their newest grimoire artisan. On Alan's first day at the magic tower, Lord Klaus explains that the tower isn't merely the nation's protection against monster invasions. It's also a hotspot for researching old wizardry and analyzing mana stones. He says that the mages spend their time either managing missions commissioned by the state or immersing themselves in arcane studies. The state allows them full freedom to use their time to enhance their skills. The master leads Alan to the stairway that winds up to the Great Hall, the center core of all tower operations. He tells Alan to walk upstairs, saying that he's already cleared most of his registration with the staff. Lord Klaus explains he has more serious problems to tackle and wishes the young apprentice good luck. Alan continues mounting the stairs, attempting to recall the precise words the master had spoke while collecting his breath. Just then, the enormous hall comes into view, spreading broad and grand before him, indicating the commencement of whatever lies inside. He looks over at the magical turmoil before him and can scarcely grasp the scene. Young grimoire smiths float around like they've had anti-gravity powers, browsing through gigantic books, while giant golden gears grind away in the backdrop. Honestly, it's enough to make anyone's head short-circuit. Just then, a voice comes out behind him. He turns to see the receptionist who is twiddling her thumbs waiting for him. She finally drags his registration across the finish line and slams an identity badge into his hands. It's a mana stone he has to have on himself at all times, like an ID badge. The insignia has a water attribute mana stone, which indicates his function as an apprentice. She adds further that he can rank up over time by racking up achievements through missions and studies. Basically, work hard and maybe get paid extra for it. As his rank goes up, he'll get more authority and fatter payouts. Alan doesn't spend a second and wonders whether there are any assignments he can start. The receptionist focuses his attention to the large memoria book he was fawning about previously. She describes every mission log and research document. From the tower's lowly origins until the present, everything is jammed within its pages. She tells him to press his hand on the memoria, and it logs him in. The system prompts him to state his wish, and she adds that he can use voice commands too. He clumsily blurts out that he wishes to accept a mission, and the memoria responds with a thorough list of every potential task, like some overachieving Amazon shopping menu. Then comes the rule lecture. New apprentices are obliged to team with a higher-ranking grimoire smith for missions, and the master had already assigned him his first one. But Alan gives that offer the chilly shoulder and accepts the Orvain investigative mission instead. The receptionist nearly chokes on her own words, warning that apprentices normally tackle missions that tough only immediately before graduating. She continues, adding that the mission requires fighting hazardous monsters, but Alan shrugs her off and accepts before she can even finish. This makes her pull her hair, certain the mission is a death desire, even with Master Lucas acting as his sidekick. If it's on the mission list, he feels it can't be that impossible. He then asks the receptionist who Lucas actually is, to which he confesses he's the sole apprentice personally taught by Lord Klaus. She keeps continuing, gloating that obtaining an intermediate rank usually takes 10 years, but Master Lucas somehow shattered it in just 4. A female nearby overhears and climbs on the excitement train. She is a fan because the tower's master never takes apprentices, yet Lucas was handpicked. She believes he is the only one capable of inheriting the old master's research. She asks if there could possibly be a bigger honor than having Master Lucas as a partner. Meanwhile, the background throng starts muttering and chatting about Alan, questioning if he's actually an apprentice or simply another worthless slave. Our hero, naturally attracted by Alan's fancy introduction, thinks he wants to check him out himself. On his way there, our kid sulks at the notion of being stuck with a partner till he levels up. But when he finally opens the door, he's welcomed by a human tornado dressed as a clean freak. The guy zaps around the room, scrubbing and organizing items at incredible speed, before eventually discovering he has a visitor. He confuses our youngster for his master, and Alan asks who this whirlwind even is. The guy figures the visitor must be Alan and introduces himself as Lucas Valen, his senior in apprenticeship. Lucas quickly believes the young one probably came from the Great Hall and has already been briefed on their first mission. Sizing him up like a pro, he assumes the child is terrified and reassures him that he'll guide and remain with him every step of the way. But our guy just hands him the mission document and says he's not nervous at all. Instead, he's taken on a whole different assignment, one Lucas will certainly want to see. The senior blinks in surprise when he notices the southern woodland listed. He realizes this is not quite the textbook first expedition, but the official seal disagrees. Our hero nonchalantly asks when they'll be leaving, while looking through some books on Lucas's shelf, like he's already making himself at home. Lucas explains they can catch the morning carriage, which will drop them off in 2 hours. But Alan cuts him off mid-explanation and says they'll go in the morning. Bro just walks away, leaving the senior bewildered. Lucas stands there like a statue, and the mission paperwork slips from his hands. He mumbles something before he jumps back into cleaning mode and begins turning the room pristine like Captain Levi. Our hero climbs the steps and glances back at the senior, thinking he's truly a fairly fine guy. At the same time, he reminds himself they are about to set off on a significant assignment. He takes every book he can reach and starts reading like his life relies on it. His goal is obvious: obtain enough knowledge to earn the right to participate in the Grimoire choosing ritual. After studying for so long, Alan falls asleep and then wakes up a few hours later. As he gets up, he finds Lucas, who is busy with his studies. His eyes then settle on the absolute specimens of mana stones sitting on the counter, and he quickly falls in love. Just then, the senior apprentice notices him and apologizes if he woke him awake. Alan denies that and instead takes up one of the stones, while he gets utterly mesmerized by it. Lucas then asks whether he can see the ancient magic inside them, which only he and the old man can ordinarily see. Our boy then observes the golden frames around them and comments that each one looks different. He then points out that 2 of them have the exact same framework also. Lucas finally explains that the designs differ based on whether they are attribute or derived diamonds. That utterly flies over Alan's head, so the senior apprentice breaks it down and explains that mana stones which retain ancient magic are called gems. These diamonds are clean so that a magic user can properly use them. After checking that Alan is following along, he continues and states that all jewels fall under these 2 groups. The wing frame jewel can manipulate natural forces and is classified as an attribute jewel. On the other hand, the plant frame jewel is known as a derivative jewel, which may execute supernatural skills, such as supervision and superhearing. He then opens a grimoire and points out that the patterns on the left and right pages differ for each type. Alan quickly catches on and recognizes that these circuits are designed to draw out mystical power. It is because of these grimoires that people like them can employ old magic. Placing his palm on the book, Lucas explains that grimoires operate as a lifeline for their users. Alan recalls that Klaus suggested something similar earlier. The more compatible a user is with their grimoire, the more power they can pull from it. That makes our hero ponder if grimoires are intended for specific persons and how that even works. The senior apprentice then calls him out and asks if he took this perilous profession merely to earn his own grimoire faster. Alan admits brazenly that he did, since he wants a stable partner for his travels as soon as feasible. Moving on to the next day, the 2 finally find their way to the southern forest. Lucas comments that the ground feels excessively muddy due of the rain. Meanwhile, our child looks around at the village and wonders if this is all there is, since the place looks utterly abandoned, which surprises Lucas as well. As they walk forward, Alan asks if the mine is nearby. The senior apprentice confirms that the entry should be directly close to the village. At that time, something immediately jumps out in front of them. Seeing the horrible gremlins, Our child knows that these must be the animals they were sent to kill. Getting ready to combat, Lucas asks our guy if he has the grimoire that was issued to him. As the animals close in, Alan recalls that he was given fire, water, and earth attribute stones. Even if fire would be the most effective, it would burn down the forest. Lucas then begs Alan to stay near to him at all times for protection. But our youngster shakes it off and insists that he can handle himself. With that, he summons his grimoire and prepares to fight. Alan places the earth stone inside his grimoire as he confidently declares that he can protect himself without much trouble at all. He places his palm on the ground, which sends sharp pebbles shooting upward at the wolf creature's core stones and kills them instantaneously. Lucas feels surprised to see that the novice knows just where to attack, and Alan proudly tells that he read about it in his book just the previous day. The senior seems visibly impressed and calls him worthy of being the master's apprentice without hesitation. He enables Alan to go all out and joins him as they take down many wolf creatures together in quick succession. However, they suddenly hear a scream from a distance and turn to see a village guard under attack by one of the beasts. Lucas swiftly clears a passage by blasting the monsters away, but it becomes obvious that they will not reach the guard in time at their current speed. At that point, Lucas grabs Alan and orders him to grip his grimoire securely as he summons the dancing wind, Istrafika. The magic sends them forward at amazing speed, and as soon as they close in, Lucas throws Alan straight toward the monsters without hesitation. Alan makes a wide circle and summons several razor spikes that penetrate through the creatures and annihilate them totally. They reach the village guard, who expresses relief upon seeing the grimoire smiths come just in time to save him. After that, they send him away to a safer location before continuing their job ahead. Soon, they encounter the father monster that looks to be the source of the entire brood, causing trouble in the neighborhood. At that moment, Alan observes something peculiar about its core stone, as its center produces a faint glow similar to a mana stone. He asks Lucas whether a monster can be slain without breaking its core stone, which seems weird as no one has attempted such a way previously. Alan explains that he can plainly see a light coming from the core stone, almost identical to the glow of a mana stone itself. However, Lucas states that he cannot notice anything peculiar at all, which creates uncertainty between them. This makes Alan worry if he alone can see this light, and whether it differs from a typical mana stone in some way. He tells Lucas to believe him and follow his lead if he truly wants to grasp what he sees, and he adds that they need to incapacitate the creature first. The blonde senior believes that Alan is entirely serious about collecting the stone, and asks again whether he actually sees a light within it. Alan's expression remains steady and unyielding, which convinces Lucas that he is telling the truth, so he chooses to go ahead with the plan, since the youngster might genuinely see something beyond his perception. He informs Alan that he will help him, and asks if he already has a plan planned for this circumstance. The hero explains that he would confine the monster with the Earthstone, while Lucas slices through the core with his wind power at the perfect moment. Lucas becomes impressed by the notion, and promptly uses Windbind to halt the monster for a short time. Alan jumps in with his ground ability, and imagines the dirt around the creature changing into incredibly fine sand to trap it more efficiently. He refines the sand as much as possible, and then uses his waterstone to flood the region fully. The monster is trapped in the thick muck that forms, and Lucas follows up with a Windblade assault, but it fails to make any result at all. They recognize that the creature had deflected the hit, since the wind attack lacks enough power to break past its defense. Alan starts to think rapidly, before he suddenly comes up with a creative approach that could turn the situation around. He instructs Lucas to utilize his wind assault once more, and at the same time, he gets out his firestone, because fire can cut through stronger things with adequate intensity. He launches a torrent of fire that fuses with the wind assault and makes a considerably greater combined strike than previously. He pushes the wind intensity even higher, before they release the whole force of the strike directly at the monster, without hesitation. Their hazardous concept works brilliantly, and they manage to extract the core stone from the creature's body in one smooth move. Before Lucas can react or celebrate the victory, Alan moves instantly and catches the stone mid-air without missing the chance. Lucas admits that he did not expect them to succeed like that, but Alan is more interested in the core stone. The senior apprentice thinks that the kid is already close to an intermediate grimoire smith. The trick our hero utilized before to match his magic with someone else indicates that he has the inherent talent to pull off outrageous exploits. The blondie sighs and explains that he has his job cut out for him. Alan then points the stone forward and happily states that there really is a golden light in it, but it looks faint compared to a mana stone. Even after examining intently, Lucas acknowledges that he cannot see it at all, and proposes that they should question the master once they return. If the demon core genuinely carries some ancient magic, then there is a potential to turn it into a weapon. Just then, more troops show up and call out as they question whether everything is fine. Lucas informs them that the demonic beast got sent on a one-way trip straight to hell, and wonders if the people are secure. All of a sudden, our boy freezes for a moment and wonders what just transpired. It feels like someone tried to gain his attention. The senior apprentice jerks him back to reality and urges him to show his grimoire and gems so he can appraise them. Our youngster merely stands there and looks back at the mine, while Lucas yells out to him to hurry up. Sometime later, everyone in the community celebrates as they find they made it out safely. Lucas reveals that his grimoire and gems are operating nicely as well. The two then decide that they will travel to the mine. The senior apprentice says that any time a mana stone vein is identified, the grimoire smiths must confirm whether they are true mana stones. However, Alan just hears mana stones and soon wanders into his imagination. Snapping out of it, he informs Lucas that they need to hurry. Just as the two are about to go, an old guy suddenly calls at them to stop. He tells them not to enter the mine or Lord Anima will get angry. That gets Lucas's interest, as he wonders who that is. The old man goes on a full rage and declares that the Lord is the custodian of this forest, who made the mine his home. The blondie plays along and nods to everything. A young man tries to stop the elderly man, but the geezer keeps going and blames the younger generation. He argues that ever since people stopped honoring the Lord, demons started attacking them. While the young man holds him back, the two excuse themselves and quickly leave. As they reach the mine, Lucas reveals that Aonuma is most likely a ghost beast. However, he has never heard of such rumors before today. Phantom beasts do not totally belong under monsters or animals, since their body are constructed of mana stones. Seeing the stars in Alan's eyes after hearing about mana stones, Lucas starts to grasp how his tiny brain operates. The tales indicate that phantom monsters live for a very long period and can employ ancient magic without boundaries. Even while some are confirmed to exist, there are still many that the Magic Tower has not documented. Just like Lord Aonuma, these beings are often regarded as divine figures, which makes our youngster question if there is one here too. Lucas says that if there is one, then it would likely be an unregistered ghost beast. He warns him not to expect to find one so quickly, since they are regarded divine beings. Legends tell that sometimes phantom monsters bestow blessings to mages they approve of. Even though this is proven in history, most people still perceive it like a fairy tale. Alan slips into thought as he wonders how a phantom beast would look if it were composed of mana stones. He also wonders if the voice he sensed earlier belonged to one, and gets excited at the possibility of meeting one. The senior apprentice snaps him out of it and explains that they have reached the area. Alan glances ahead and quickly gets swept away by the sight. As he touches the crystals, our hero almost tears up because of their beauty. Lucas explains that mana stone surveying is easy for them since they can see the golden light inside them. Our son then asks if there are tools for people who cannot, which makes the blonde glad that he is truly paying attention. All of a sudden, Alan freezes again and understands that it is the same feeling as previously. He fails to detect the ground crumbling beneath him and falls down a hole, which makes Lucas nearly have a heart attack. Screaming as loud as he can, Alan manages to live as he hits the ground with a hefty thud. He then looks up and finds additional mana stones flashing brightly and gets entranced by their beauty again. Staring at the golden light, he is shocked as he wonders if all of these are real mana stones. The rock nerd is so enthralled by the scene that he does not even register his anxious senior calling his name from above. Lucas advises him to stay put while he works out a safe way down, but Alan isn't very friendly. He refuses to not explore a crystal cavern that seems like the biggest vein of diamond ore on the server. As he ventures in farther, he realizes something is strange, like the walls are circling about him. A second later, he blinks in confusion at the sight of a gigantic head and a curved horn jutting straight out of the wall ahead. The gigantic thing moves again, and he understands it is a living monster created completely from mana crystals. The fish-like beast glides above him, giving him a next-level aquarium show without the glass wall. As he wonders whether this is indeed a phantom beast, he feels its voice reverberate right inside his consciousness. The creature acknowledges that people had definitely called it such before. Curious, Alan asks if the voice in his head belongs to it. The megalodon-sized ghost beast reveals that his magic-seeing eyes pulled it toward him. In all its years, it has never encountered a human with eyes like his. ones that view the world through the same lens as the ancient spirit creatures. Our youngster wonders why others cannot see it, and the beast reveals that even phantom beasts do not fully comprehend the explanation. The only indication it recalls is something an old acquaintance once stated, that blessings like his are awarded to rare persons adored by the cosmos. Hearing that he is somehow favored by the cosmos fills him with a wonderfully nice feeling in his chest. Then, he reaches out to touch the phantom beast, inquisitive about what such a monster formed of magic diamonds feels like. Its surface is cold and calming to the touch, smooth in a way that instantly soothes him. The experience is so nice that he blurts out that the crystal fish is gorgeous. That simple compliment makes the beast proud, and it swears to brag to the 7-star rulers that a human adored it. This is the first time Alan has ever heard of the kings. According to the beast, they are the highest rank beings among phantom things, entities that have lived longer than any other living thing in the world. Just imagining that there are existences even greater than this shimmering colossus brings thrill flowing through Alan. The phantom mangacarp seems to realize it has revealed more than it planned. Growing sleepy, it says farewell and states it is time for a nap. Before it fades away, Alan hurriedly asks whether it can disclose where the 7 spirit kings might be found and what it knows about ancient magic. The phantom beast advises him to relax, for he is someone blessed by the cosmos. There is no doubt he will cross paths with the 7-star kings one day, and his particular eyes will direct him to the genesis of magic itself. Before he can raise further questions, the creature tells him the Star Kings will explain everything when the time is right. It provides him with a modest blessing as a parting present. Seeing what it leaves behind, he is absolutely dumbfounded for once. It is a scale, thought to be filled with hundreds of years' worth of pure mana. The beast wishes him success in obtaining the primal mana stone, a legendary gem whose luminosity outshines every other stone in existence. Then it flaps its fins away, and Alan snaps back to reality just as Lucas finally reaches him. When his senior demands to know what he is carrying, Alan simply says that it is a phantom beast's blessing. Bro glances at him for a long second, evidently contemplating whether the fall jumbled his head. He insists that a phantom beast really handed him its scale, but Lucas is not buying such foolishness. Back in their master's lab, Alan repeats the same story about his shiny new scale. Klaus begs Lucas for a clean report on what exactly transpired down there, but he tells him to keep out the portion about the phantom beast and the demon core. He says he will personally discuss such problems with the other mage lords. Then he goes to Alan, and finally delivers the words the boy has been yearning to hear. Lord Klaus adds that since Alan uncovered the material, it only makes it logical that he should be the one to refine it and carve it into a magic stone. He provides him full authority to use anything inside his research facility. While he sets the specialized instruments required for the task, however, he directs Alan to go and choose his own grimoire first. Just the notion of selecting his very own grimoire sends a flood of enthusiasm through him, and he grabs his senior before dashing out of the room. The two come to a gigantic gate locked securely in heavy chains. Once it opens, Alan enters inside and finds himself staring at a huge library, shelves upon shelves, stacked to the roof, with numerous grimoires ready to be picked. The bells begin to ring as they mark the start of the grimoire selection ceremony, and all the grimoire smiths turn with eagerness to see who will choose a grimoire this year. However, their expressions flip when they see that the participant is merely an unassuming slave boy who has just remained there for 2 days. They begin to question how someone like him even got the opportunity to take part in such an important ceremony at all. They think that his involvement itself feels silly, as a slave like him could never really hope to get a grimoire in the first place. A girl points out that a grimoire once illuminated for Lord Klaus during his ceremony, but another guy instantly rejects that allegation as nothing more than an inflated urban legend. He argues that he verified the records in the memorial and insists that it just showed a little twinkling instead of anything major. His receptionist watches with apparent anticipation and wonders if Alan genuinely means to follow through with this endeavor, despite the odds. He reaches the door of a vast chamber and asks whether that is where the grimoires are kept, and Lucas confirms that the place is known as the Grimoire Archive. He reveals that it acts as the storehouse for grimoires that still wait for a master to claim them. Lucas tells Alan to pay close attention and explains that a grimoire picks its user, not the other way around under any scenario. He advises him never to touch the grimoires put on the shelf, because one will come forward on its own if it accepts him. If nothing responds, he must depart empty-handed without forcing anything at all. So Alan clearly understands that no selection implies no reward. Lucas further notes that this regulation is exactly why it is considered the right to participate in the ceremony rather than a promised outcome. He adds that magicians who lack sufficient experience generally fail to acquire attention from any grimoire at this stage. In that instance, Alan would need to perfect his abilities through missions before he gets another chance to join again in the future. Before Alan enters inside, Lucas hands him a unique golden ball that immediately attracts his gaze with curiosity. Before Alan can even question it, the ball suddenly gets wings and begins to fly around on its own. Lucas reveals that it is a mystery mangacap tool, which allows them to observe everything Alan sees from a distance. He adds that this exists merely to avoid cheating, and that broadcasting the stream to the memoria acts as regular procedure for every participant. Lucas tells him that he must already be appearing on the memoria at that time, and the other grimoire smiths watch his shocked reaction as it reminds them of their own ceremonies in the past. Lucas reassures him not to worry, and adds that he would wait outside for him before wishing him good luck with a serene smile. Alan then enters into the archive and begins to walk forward while he takes in the unusual sights. Soon he sees that the entire location feels utterly silent, yet he detects something breathing, as if the space itself lives like a monster. He gently looks around when a faint light catches his notice and suddenly learns that not all the books in the archive are authentic grimoires. He begins to wonder if the glowing ones are the true grimoires as he stands in front of one such radiant book with fascination. He feels inclined to reach out and take it, but he instantly recalls Lucas's warning and stops himself before committing a mistake. Alan is slightly upset with the scenario as he queries how he is meant to know whether a grimoire has chosen him or not. Just then, he turns back again and momentarily catches sight of a bizarre beast that vanishes nearly instantaneously without a trace. He wonders if it might be a demon at first, but then he understands that it must be something altogether different from what he thought. Just then, a bizarre wolf emerges in front of him with a mark on its head, which catches him off guard. He calls at the others to keep vigilant and starts after the thing. As he walks through the tight passages, he finally reaches a clearing where the wolf sits on top of a horizontal column. Alan becomes utterly swept away by the gorgeous landscape in front of him. The wolf then stares straight at him, which makes him flinch, but then it gently lowers its head. All of a sudden, the mark on its head starts flashing brightly and fills the entire space with light. Our hero remains paralyzed as the light suddenly rushes toward him and forces him back. The little drone keeps capturing everything as a grimoire appears in the sky. Meanwhile, the bystanders get astonished and start discussing as they question if that purple glow is normal. The nobility began to question how much influence Alan actually has and whether the tales about the master were accurate. Even when Lord Claus recovered his grimoire, it never blazed this brightly. The teacher confirms that the glow is obviously abnormal and wonders if it links to our boy's affinity with ancient magic. Coming back to Alan, he extends out his hands as the grimoire slowly lowers. The moment he grabs it, he feels the flow of mana, which beats like a living heartbeat. He gets overwhelmed by how warm it feels and clutches the grimoire fiercely as he claims it as his own. All the while, the floating camera continues to project the full scene. Watching through a floating projection, Lord Claus acknowledges to himself that the youngster was talented, sure, but he did not realize he was this extraordinary. Alan returns to the lab and offers the grimoire to his master with hardly restrained pride. The old man notes that it is a dusty, ancient-looking book, but he made a solid decision. He urges our son to treasure it and encourages him to take a seat since they need to have a serious chat. While he enjoys sipping his tea like a Brit, his master brings up the subject about the Phantom Beast's blessing again. With a strong tone, he asks Alan to repeat exactly what the creature said, word for word. Alan explains that it named him a child blessed by the universe and claimed his eyes can see ancient magic like other ancient beings. It also claims something cryptic about the Spirit Kings directing him to the genesis of magic. After hearing that, Lord Claus chooses to divulge something that is not general knowledge. It is stated that the Star Kings are spirit entities who govern over the territory of the 5 great kingdoms. Alan sees that 5 does not equal 7, evidently bewildered. Lucas steps in and reveals that no one knows where the remaining 2 kings are hidden. Some believe those 2 move freely over the continent as they like. Even the maestro admits that after his lengthy search, he has not unearthed a single solid sign of them. Setting that aside, Alan asks about the genesis of magic. His instructor says that it most likely relates to the primal stone. No one knows where the earliest magic stone known in written history is located, or what kind of power it even contains. It remains a conundrum unanswered by the greatest minds of prior generations, and no amount of overthinking has cracked it so far. Lord Claus believes that mankind might finally grasp old magic if they can study the primal stone. Alan is the only one who can find all the Star Kings. But honestly, our boy does not need the extra push. He is already thrilled just thinking of how captivating a blessing from a Spirit King might seem like. Already viewing a Phantom Beast scale sparkles brightly than diamonds. He confidently says he will make it his life mission to explore the entire continent and find every last Spirit King. Before he goes off on that dream, however, his instructor advises him that appropriate preparation will decide whether he survives the adventure or not. Right now, only the higher-ups know that demon attacks in the western regions are rapidly rising. The prevailing notion is that demons are invading human territory to search down concealed spirit monsters and eliminate them. The Stone Guardian Kingdom just lost their own spirit beast, which validates that argument. Because of it, Alan cannot afford to be negligent on his voyage. More than cautious, he has to grow strong enough to meet monsters head-on. With that warning conveyed, Lord Klaus advises our kid to proceed to the tower's workshop district and get his grimoire fixed. Later, inside one of the sessions, Alan feels shy observing all the different kinds of people moving around. While he peers over a corner like a suspicious raccoon, an elf suddenly approaches and asks whether he came to mend his book. Although Alan is not a fan of the small heart attack, he decides to trust the curiously charismatic craftsman with his grimoire. After perusing the book for a brief while, the elf believes he can accomplish the assignment swiftly, catching him by surprise with how fast the evaluation was. The cheery elf also comments that it is a fine grimoire, thus it merits careful care. Alan nods, but he cannot stop glancing at the guy's sharp, pointy ears. The smith recognizes the boy certainly hasn't seen many of his sort before. He says that elves like him specialize in this skill because woodland folk possess equipment and procedures that humans just do not have access to. He casually adds that the Stone Guardians, basically this world's dwarfs, run the magic stone workshops. Alan immediately connects the connections and understands that this smith likely creates all sorts of magic tools powered by stones. Trying to seem casual, Alan asks about the guardian spirit protecting the elven grove. The elf verifies its existence and adds he is receptive to a few inquiries. That turns out to be a mistake, because he bombards him with so many rapid-fire questions that the elf hastily retracts the generous offer. Once the grimoire is rebuilt, he advises our hero about someone who might know far more about the guardian spirit than any average elf. He seems to have taken a liking to our overly curious protagonist, so he shares one more minor secret. Soon a caravan from the forest will arrive, and a fantastically strong warrior usually guides it. That escort might be Alan's greatest opportunity at receiving actual answers. Meanwhile, outside the magic tower, an elf lying on top of a caravan roof appears absolutely bored out of his mind. The guard informs him they are almost at their destination. He remembers the time he dueled with Klaus when the old chap was younger and totally annihilated him. Since then, he hasn't met any serious opposition and wonders whether this time he could finally encounter someone who puts up a good fight. The next day, our guy looks like he's about to collapse after pulling an all-nighter, polishing the magic scale like his life depends on it. By now, Lucas isn't even astonished to see him giggling maniacally over a rock. His elder tells him the traveling merchant market has opened and urges him to walk outdoors to touch some grass. Walking through the bustling market, Alan is utterly astonished by all the unusual and interesting goods on exhibit. One of the elf merchants shows him an exquisite torch gadget that's popular with the elves. Hearing about the woodland folk, he suddenly remembers the real agenda for the day. He scans around, finding elves everywhere, but none of them look like the extremely powerful fighter he's looking for. As he continues hunting, he comes across a vendor selling caged animals. Seeing the creatures handled the way he was as a kid fills him with hatred. Right then, a tremendous boom explodes nearby as everyone rushes from a creature that broke free. It looks like a regular animal at first glance, but his eyes know there is something wrong with it. The elves confirm it's a furious Morlock and order all the humans to evacuate, but Alan isn't a listener. The woodland folk attempt to fight back against the Morlock, which is normally a passive animal that's also weak to water magic. To calm this one down, they need a water mage. However, the Morlock nearly incinerates one of the elves with its fire breath. Alan comes in to rescue the day. The forest folk watch in bewilderment. He is simply a little guy brandishing a rookie grimoire, yet he stopped a monster far larger than himself. But instead of providing appreciation, the nasty elf from before shouts at him, asking if he doesn't care about living anymore. He appreciates Alan saving them, but maintains this is a job for grown-ups, not some rookie brat. My boyfriend is very ticked off by the comment. It's painfully clear that his companion's spells and arrows are so feeble they can barely tickle the Morlock at best. As he starts walking away, he hears the elf mutter that things would have been over already if Shumiel were present. The lazy goofball is snoozing on a rooftop, while the rest of the team is out there battling on the front lines. Just then, the Morlock hurls 3 fireballs at once. Our son reacts swiftly, manipulating the soil to construct a wall of sand that stops them cold. With his new grimoire, his control has improved so far that he rides the waves of sand like a gangster. Mid-air, he swaps out the earth stone for a water one, combining the 2 elements to tie the enormous monkey in an elemental cage. The woodland folk are astonished ordinarily. Only a monster could control sand like that. They thank him and shout for him to run as the Morlock bursts through its chains and lunges for him. Alan, of course, refuses to retreat. His outstanding performance does not go unnoticed by a specific warrior who has been patiently monitoring this whole time. The warrior examines the human beginner, noting the competence in how he battles the Morlock, but he doesn't see them finishing it out in a million years. Meanwhile, Alan is convinced his magic eyes can find the creature's weak point. Just as he prepares to attack, however, an arrow slashes past him. The Morlock's head gets blown right off its body. A hand lands on his shoulder, and he hears a voice compliment straight in his ear. Our youngster can't even tell where it originated from, but he immediately recognizes this guy is miles above every other elf around. The unpleasant elf from before calls the guy Shumiel, confirming that he is the strongest fighter they had been waiting for all along. All the woodland folks gather around Shumiel like fans, but the prior elf grabs him by the collar, visibly angered with his arrogant attitude after one-shotting the Morlock. He reminds Shumiel of his own standing. Shumiel's tone gets serious as he strikes back, questioning whether they recall what their standing actually is. A party of seasoned elven warriors should honestly feel ashamed, having to rely on a human kid to save them from a single monster. Shumiel looks to Alan and smirks, calling him a pipsqueak that packs quite a punch. Alan stays unmoved, indicating he's not easily triggered, which makes Shumiel like him more. But his eyes are not focused on the elven warrior. They are locked on the Morlock, which is apparently moving even though its head was blown off. A wise man once said, "People die after they're killed." Alan knows this. Hence the only reason the creature is still alive is presumably the magic stone embedded in its chest, just like Malik's experiments. The warrior enthusiastically promises to back Alan up, turning it into a test to determine if the boy can genuinely fight the crazed Morlock. Alan the negotiator proposes a bargain. He will accept the stipulations in exchange for a favor after the conflict is over. The smug elf grins, thinking the tiny pipsqueak talks rather large for his stature. With that, our youngster changes to the water magic stone and goes all out, ready to try out the power output of his new grimoire. The elves around them observe the astonishing display of strength, and their mouths remain wide open in shock. Alan, on the other hand, keeps enjoying the fight and continues attacking the Morlock without slowing down. He then asks Shumiel if he can see a dark area on the monster that is pulsing and urges him to shoot right at it. The elf pulls out an arrow and shoots it cleanly, hitting the target and forcing the dark crystal to detach from the Morlock. The instant the crystal gets removed, the monster's body begins to inflate from all sides, making it evident that it is about to self-destruct. The elves panic and cry for everyone to leave for their lives, but just before the explosion is about to happen, the geeky boy uses his water magic and surrounds the monster at the last second. Everyone turns back in shock, understanding that they have been saved. After dealing with the monster, Alan walks over to the black crystal that Shumiel knocked out and picks it up. As he studies it attentively, he realizes that it appears similar to the ones Malik used for his own schemes, which makes it evident that Malik might be involved in this somehow. Just then, the clinging elf Shumiel rushes in and hugs the youngster firmly, complimenting him for all the effort he has put in. Alan promptly uses the chance to inquire what he has been wanting to know and leaks directly to the topic of phantom animals. He asks if Shumiel knows anything about the phantom beast in the Elflands and what kind of magic it utilizes. Hearing such a quick question startles Shumiel, but when he looks at Alan, he only sees a curious boy who wants to understand the world. He pats his head and informs him that he also bears a scent akin to a phantom beast. He then reveals that the ghost beast of the woodland kin is renowned as one who can read the winds. He introduces the phantom beast as a high and powerful, fantastic-looking eagle that is capable of moving over the borders of time. He further says that the beast can see everything, and that would include their chat just now, and he uses this as an argument that the beast would get upset at him for divulging so much. He informs the youngster that if he truly wants to see the beast firsthand, He should take part in the celebration that is held once every 50 years in the country of the forest kin. He adds that all he needs to do is overcome him and the rest of the guardians to gain a guaranteed chance to meet the king. He boosts the boy's curiosity even more by saying that the next festival is scheduled to be held in only 2 years. The boy, however, picks the quicker way and challenges Shumil right there on the spot. He argues that if he defeats him now, there would be no need to wait for any festival. The clingy elf finds the youngster interesting, but reminds him that there are other guardians as well, including himself, and he would have to overcome all of them. He tells the child to train properly for the next 2 years if he wants to stand a chance, and swears that he would do his best when the time comes. Alan firmly says that he is going to win for sure. Just then, Lord Claus appears and shouts out to the boy. He grabs the black gem from him and suddenly discovers that the elf standing next to him is none other than Shumil. The maestro explains that he had fought against all 7 guardians before, and managed to triumph against all of them except for Shumil. The clingy elf asks the geezer whether the lad is his apprentice, but before he can continue the conversation, his escort comes sprinting toward him, and Shumil immediately flees to avoid getting drawn into any duties. While leaving, he reminds the youngster that he will be waiting for him at the festival in 2 years. The old geezer then asks the boy whether he actually wants to attend the Woodland Kins Festival. He says that he would need to become considerably stronger, and at the same time, he concedes that he himself can no longer take on that challenge, while still feeling that Alan might genuinely have a shot. Alan starts daydreaming about his victory and how much he wants to see the big eagle he has just heard about. A few days later, Claus reviews the material he obtained from the boy. He gets to the conclusion that someone might have planted that thing inside the beast, and begins to worry that the youngster could be facing even more problems in the near future. Just as he gets this terrible feeling, he receives a call and hears that there is an emergency as the demon army is coming near the southern city. Meanwhile, Alan finishes preparing the phantom beast's mana stone and feels excited to test the magic trapped inside it. He hastily tries to utilize it, while Claus cries at him to stop using magic within the chamber, but he is already too late. Lucas and Alan's faces light up as the blue glow intensifies, but just as quickly, they get blue-balled as the enchantment dies down nearly as fast as it appeared. Both are left scratching their brains. He certainly feels a large flow of mana, but every time he attempts to control it, it slips through his fingers like water. Lord Claus reveals that the magic is significantly more sophisticated than conventional ancient spells, requiring a high skill level to truly wield its power. That reminded Alan of the Phantom Fish Spirit's statements that the magic may be tricky to master, but it was confident he will eventually learn to control it. Putting everything aside, Claus informs the two that the demon army in the south is more active than ever. Because of that, they have no choice but to deploy every mage over intermediate level, including Lucas, to deal with the threat. Alan wants to go too, but his master insists he stay back in the tower. When he complains with puppy eyes, Claus agrees that Alan surely has the talent to fight. However, he has a more vital duty waiting for him. The next day, Alan heads up the tower. He overhears 2 mages discussing about reinforcements being dispatched to the south and feels unhappy that he got left out. Moving on, he walks to the counter to conduct some admin work. As soon as the blonde chick finds him, she starts hovering around him. The female keeps yapping on even though he is plainly annoyed by her existence. Right then, both of them freeze as the alarms blare. An announcement goes off, telling all mages to evacuate the tower because a high-level threat has escaped from prison. A senior mage rushes in, alarmed, and urges the girl to call the magic lords immediately. He's plainly terrified, knowing that the escaped prisoner didn't leave a single guard alive. Chaos erupts as all the mages start running for their lives, but Alan isn't about to hide. He decides to chase down the menace before it flees the tower. On the lower floors, he notices one of the doors is partially open. Peeking inside, he discovers the person he least expects. A flash of sad recollections hit him like a truck. Without hesitation, he pulls out his grimoire, ready to strike. His target, Lord Malik, appears curiously calm at first, but after seeing him, the elderly man's body starts contorting and he starts to babble crazy. The lunatic rambles that he has the right to remake the universe, saying it was conferred by his master. He swallows a crimson magic stone. Malik plainly says that it will be a tremendous pleasure for Alan to witness his mission personally, which is to pull in Itachi on the kingdom. Alan swiftly conjures water magic to stop the menace. Black flames erupt around Malik, who proclaims he will become renowned as the 8th Star King. The crazed mage throws Alan aside and rips a hole through the wall, escaping to the outside. Our hero's eyes widen in shock at Malik's appearance. His body looked like he was gooning for months, leaving little but skin and bones. Mildly disturbed, Alan is resolved to stop the lunatic before he takes innocent lives and gives chase. Suddenly, his necklace communicates a mission to all magicians. Eliminate any monsters in the city and save the citizens. Alarm bells ring in his head as he struggles to grasp what the warning means. From a lofty vantage point above the city, he sees demons running rampant, terrifying the inhabitants at every turn. He tears through all demons in sight as he speeds across the capital, seeking to make sense of the carnage. Standing atop a fountain, he finds Malik half-naked, raving about how strong he's grown. The angry wizard releases his flames, engulfing all the mages surrounding him, but Alan intervenes, indicating he should try taking on someone his own size. The crazy mage summons all types of monsters to swarm him, but Alan blows them away with ease. Malik scarcely flinches because his level of power is nowhere close enough to challenge him. The half-demon, half-man makes a generous offer to kill him with less agony if he apologizes. Alan declines, kindly reminding him that he's the one who should be begging. He already got humiliated by him when he was only a tiny lad. Malik's frail ego shatters as he drops the Mr. Nice Psychopath act. He increases the number of monsters attacking Alan, and reinforcements soon come. Other mages mistake Malik for just another demon and ready to strike. Alan tries to tell them that the freed prisoner is dangerous, but they ignore him. They regard him as just a newbie half their stature who doesn't know what he's talking about. They instantly regret that decision. Malik channels the cursed magic stone's power for the first time. While the lunatic employs his banned powers, the mages' combined efforts succeed to overwhelm the shithead, tearing his limbs apart. But they snap back together within seconds straight after, good as new. Watching him regenerate even after decapitation, Alan attempts to figure out how to beat this monster. He can't wrap his mind around how Malik even became a demon in the first place. Then he finds icicles lodged around Malik's shoulders and a magic stone at his feet. The half-demon scoops it up, thinking he was a fool to imagine he needed powerful magic stones to get stronger. He crushes the valuable jewel directly in front of Alan, simply to trigger him. Malik flaunts the full extent of his demon transformation, power more than enough to remove everyone in the capital from existence. After that, he wants to rain fire on the Beast Kingdom and all other lands until the entire continent accepts him as the 8th Star King. All the magicians watching lose hope, certain there's nothing more they can do, but there's still a glimmer of hope. Alan calls Malik the piece of trash he is and promises he'll be the one to throw the German cockroach back in the dumpster he crawled out of. The angry mage tosses innumerable thorny vines, challenging to watch him try. Alan dodges nimbly, casting the magic he obtained as a blessing for the first time in a real fight. His speed pauses, however, when a vine stabs him in the shoulder. Malik mocks him, wondering where all that bravery from earlier left. On the surface, it seems like he failed, but deep inside he senses a terrible storm rising, energy enough to eviscerate Malik 10 times over. Tired of toying with the thorn in his side, Malik goes in for one last deadly attack. Yet his vine never reaches Alan, who feels a spirit presence by his side. For the first time, he successfully completes the spell he got as a blessing. A blindingly bright light emerges from his hand, hurtling into the sky like a comet. A phantom magikarp materializes out of thin air, its enormous bulk glowing with raw mana.